Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force 2 in one day. Wow, because there was a special announcement that happened on today, literally just probably about a half hour ago by the time this video goes out, about a new strike spot that came out to talk about the Age of Annihilus. This was a conversation with Pathfinder, community manager Pathfinder, and Ryan Jacobson, the general manager of Marvel Strike Force, where they go on to talk about things that are going to be upcoming this week, and also just in general, some conversation around the upcoming age. And as you can see in the background here, this is basically the character model of Annihilus for Marvel Strike Force, looking pretty cool. I'll be honest, I said this in previous videos that I'm not 100% up to date on the lore and the comic lore of Annihilus. I know that he's related, often a villain for the Fantastic Four, the Negative Zone, things like this. But as far as the intricacies, I actually don't know a ton, so I'm not going to pretend that I do. But I want to talk about some of the things that was said in this video and some of the things that we can expect later on this week. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Okay, so first of all, there was this video that was not a flattering. There we go. This is better. Okay, so Strike spotted new Age of Marvel Strike Force Part 1, Age of Annihilus. And there were a handful of things that were discussed in this video. I'm not going to be playing the full video. It's actually not that long, so if you do want to check it out on your own time, it's only about 8.5 minutes. You can do that, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. But some of the things that I do want to talk about is kind of when they get started with Ryan Jacobson over here, and we'll pivot over here. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. I'm going to sum this up for you guys so you can get the short version of it. But Ryan Jacobson was is excited to put the 7th anniversary to rest, in quotations. I personally didn't believe that the 7th anniversary was very good this year. I'll be honest. As far as the events and what we got to do during the month, I felt was pretty boring. And as far as the player base goes, I'm not sure it was that thrilling either. You guys know that I track the player base numbers, that kind of stuff, and there was no increase. Like, I kind of expect the anniversary to bring people back in, to be really exciting times that are gonna, convince people to come back to playing. And there wasn't really much of that. That being said, he was really excited for the action-packed 9.0 release, and he's super excited for the command center, which obviously you guys know is in game right now, and make sure that you are checking that and collecting your rewards on a daily or regular basis. Actually, there's I guess it's just these two. I thought there was more than that. Maybe it went away. But make sure that you're checking this anyways and clearing and clicking on your objectives for those kind of things, so you can get those rewards there. He's really happy with the direction of the game. I guess that's on the back of the last time Ryan Jacobson was on, and he said he was not, or he understood the frustration of the player community. When was that, right? Like, because we talked about that, right? It was like about I mean, it hasn't even been 2 months, I think, since that video. But there we go. He said that they've learned a lot from the Age of Apocalypse, and this is a big thing as we're moving into this Age of Annihilus. Because for those of you who weren't around for the Age of Apocalypse, it was very forced as far as the requirements go, and I want to kind of just show that really quickly here. It's a lot different now than what it was before, because they changed the requirements for these, because now it's just mystic characters, mutant characters, and bio characters. But before, it was specifically those horseman teams, right? You needed to use Darkhold, you need to use Unlimited X-Men, Gamma, and Deathseed, and that was it. Like, you had to use those characters. And so they didn't like forcing, or, well, the community told them that we didn't enjoy being forced to use specific teams. He also said that Mephisto, the Age of Mephisto, wasn't very exciting either for him or the player base, or maybe both. But I mean, it was really just another dark dimension, so I'm not sure what the expectations were there necessarily. And Age of X, there was lessons to be learned, like the narrative around it. They really changed the way that this is rolled out. As far as the story goes, right? There was a little bit more of a story behind the Age of X and Xavier. As you guys know, I would sometimes kind of dive into the dialogue a little bit to see if there was any Easter eggs about upcoming stuff, and it turns out there was. Because if you actually checked maybe every 2 patches, there was some Easter eggs in the dialogue that would talk about upcoming teams and things like that. So that was kind of nice if you actually pay attention to those sorts of things, so I don't mind that part. And I will say, from a story perspective, there was more of a narrative than what there was in Age of Apocalypse. It was very flimsy. Honestly, even Mephisto was kind of flimsy. Occasionally in the Mephisto showcases, I believe, like at the very end of a particular team showcase, Mephisto would come out and like approach Nova or Black Cat or whatever, right, and like offer the pact, I guess, right? That was the whole thing with the skins. If you guys remember the Mephisto skins for those trial legendaries. And he says that Age of X is going to be very shocking for the community. And yeah, that's not been super clear exactly, but that's a quotation. So pretty shocking to the community. I mean, that was somewhere around here. There's a lot of talking of Ryan Jacobson about some of the upcoming stuff. But he said that there's going to be a, quote, complete overhaul to the way that the game works. And that's going to be very interesting. Now, he says that these changes are going to be to all player types. That's meant to be more engaging for everyone. And this is something that we've talked about in previous videos. At least for me, on my side of things, I felt that the game has become a little bit boring. I feel like that there hasn't been as much to do for me. And if you're not someone who's really engaged or loves PvP, then arguably there's probably not a whole lot of things to do in Marvel Strike Force. I call it Marvel Collect Force sometimes, I'll be honest. You know, when I go around in the game and I'm just literally logging in for my daily resets, I'm clicking. Hell, I got over 400 million gold now for some odd reason. You know, I actually do have quite a few 105s. I just, you know, I can't justify it on certain characters, right? I'm not that hardcore about the PvP aspect. So there's going to be some big overhauls. And what's, he did kind of talk about this a little bit, and we're going to get to that. I'm going to leave this up running here. So he talks about that there's going to, that an Age of Annihilus is going to tie really well to the Fantastic Four, which means it's a great time to bring it to the game. And that's kind of interesting because we know that the movie is coming out this summer, right? For better or for worse. I don't know how I feel about the movie. Where does it tie in the timeline of the MCU? I kind of want to know more about that, but you know, we'll see, right? And as far as the characters themselves go, I could see them making new versions of the Fantastic Four, but there is one character that has not seen a rework yet, and that is the Human Torch. He is the only one out of the whole group. I mean, Thing was quite some time ago now with the new Avengers, but the Human Torch was probably the only character who hasn't seen a rework. So I'm just going to chuck a diamond. I don't think it's going to be for a while. Like it'll be later in the summer, right? At the very least, because we have news all the way up to Hellfire Club, which is essentially going to be, I think, you know, sometime in June. And so we don't know a ton about July onwards, but we do know that the Fantastic Four movie is coming. So I think it's, I wouldn't say it's safe to say, but there's a good chance the Human Torch is going to get a rework. They could very well bring out new Fantastic Four related characters. Hell, they could even bring a brand new Reed Richards or something like that coming out later on this summer as well. I would not be surprised at that. He also talked about the legendary characters. Now, allegedly, there's going to be another video, another Strike Spot tomorrow that's going to be discussing those legendary characters. So I am not going to go on a limb and talk about those at this time. But he said that these characters are going to be very tied to Annihilus. So again, I don't know the lore implications of this. Other than Fantastic Four, I really don't know the broad-ranging connections between the Negative Zone and other major Marvel characters, but sounds like those legendary characters are going to be tied to him, kind of in the way that I guess the Old Man Logan was tied to Xavier and Shadow King was tied to Xavier, so that kind of thing that's going on. I don't know how many legendaries that we're going to get in the Age of Annihilus, whether it's 2 or 3. You can say what you want about Odin, whether or not that was intended or not, right? I don't know if it was, but there's a lot of talk that it wasn't. Now, he also did say that what is going to be different in a good way, or Pathfinder asked this question actually, like what is going to be different between Age of Apocalypse and the Age of Annihilus? We know that we didn't like to be forced to use characters that we didn't want to upgrade. So Ryan Jacobson does want the players to have more agency, but he talks about how to make this even better. And he talks about changing how the legendary characters work, how the shops are going to work, and the way the currency is earned for those shops. So it sounds like we might be getting an actual overhaul of the game's economy to some extent, because we've been talking about how this has been pretty boring. The shops, they're pretty much dead, with the exception of raids, which arguably is dead-ish now. But the War Store is dead. The Crucible Store is dead because all of these PvP currencies we're just not using. And that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion, right? Like, we just have not been using this kind of stuff, and we need to go back to having this more valuable. So I don't know what this means, and hopefully we'll get some more clarity this week. But it sounds like that's on their radar. They understand that this is a problem, and we need to take a look at it a little bit more. There's also, yeah, he does confirm that the legendary characters reveal is going to be tomorrow, and how you're going to unlock them and power them up. This one was kind of interesting because I don't know if that was just me reading a particular way, but the way power them up, I mean, how can that be any different, right? I mean, I guess we had the token system for Old Man Logan, and that was a pretty big thing last year. And so I don't know if they're going to do like a rendition of that, or if it's going to be somehow tied to the changes in the game shops and the currency, because he said them at the same time. He talked about legendary characters and changes to the game stores at the same time. So I don't know if that means there's going to be like a legendary store. Let's just say there's a new legendary store, some sort of new store that is somehow related to these new character releases and things like that. So that was essentially the wrap up of today's video. Those were the main sticking points, what I wanted to discuss here in today's. And it sounds like there's going to be a video tomorrow, a video on Wednesday, and then there's going to be another live stream on Friday, because if you look at towards the end screen, you can see it here. So this is something that I'm going to be covering probably up until then. Also, I do want to keep in mind that I probably won't be covering the Friday because I won't be around. Right? I've been mentioning this just so people are aware of what's going on in my life. That I will be flying away out of Canada to Germany on Friday, so I won't be here for this live stream to be able to cover this stuff. Maybe I'll be able to discuss it once I'm at my friend's place in Germany, and I get set up maybe on Saturday or something like that. I can do a reaction of some kind, but I won't be here live to do anything to put out a video around that time. Though I will be doing something else Friday morning just to make people aware of what's going on with me and a little bit of an update. So I will be hopefully covering these, video 2 and video 3, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, I guess. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.